The air was thick with the quiet hum of a late summer day in Armenia, September 16th, 1976. Shavarsh Karapetyan, a world champion finswimmer, was pushing through the final stretch of his grueling 13-mile training run, his breath steady, his focus razor-sharp. The serene rhythm of his footsteps echoed along the rugged path near Yerevan Lake, a place where the world seemed to pause. But in an instant, everything changed. A bone-chilling sound tore through the stillness, a sound no one could ignore. It was a sickening crash of metal, the scream of chaos, and the splash of disaster. A trolleybus, packed with passengers, had veered off the road, plummeted over a dam wall, and sank into the murky, sewage-laden depths of the lake. What would you do in that moment? Stand frozen, watching in horror? Call for help and hope someone else would act? Or would you run toward the danger, heart pounding, knowing every second could mean life or death? For Shavarsh, there was no hesitation. Stripping down to nothing but his resolve, he sprinted toward the water's edge, his mind racing as fast as his legs. What lay beneath the surface was a nightmare. Zero visibility, a submerged vehicle, and dozens of lives hanging in the balance. One wrong move could end it all, not just for them, but for him. Yet he dove in. This is the story of a man who didn't just face the impossible, he redefined it. A tale of courage so raw, so relentless, that it will grip you, pull you under, and hold you until the very last moment. What drove Shavarsh Karapetyan to risk everything? And what price did he pay for his heroism? Dive into this extraordinary account of sacrifice, survival, and the unbreakable human spirit. You won't look away. Shavarsh's feet pounded the earth as he reached the lake's edge, his heart thundering in his chest. The water was a churning abyss, its surface rippling with the aftermath of the trolleybus's descent. Onlookers stood paralyzed, their faces etched with panic, their voices a cacophony of shouts and gasps. But Shavarsh didn't hear them. His world narrowed to the task ahead. He tore off his shirt and shoes, his eyes locked on the water, now a murky stew of sewage and debris. There was no time to think, no time to fear. Lives were slipping away with every heartbeat. He leapt, the cold water swallowing him whole. The shock of it stole his breath, but his training as a fin swimmer kicked in. His body sliced through the lake, diving deeper, deeper, until the light above faded to nothing. At 15 feet down, the water was a black void, thick with grime that stung his eyes and clogged his lungs. He couldn't see his own hands in front of him, let alone the trolleybus. His hands groped blindly, fingers brushing against slimy rocks and tangled weeds until they finally met the cold, unyielding metal of the vehicle. His heart sank. The windows were sealed shut, trapping the passengers inside like a submerged coffin. Panic clawed at the edges of his mind, but Shavarsh forced it back. He swam to the rear of the trolleybus, his lungs burning, and positioned himself. With a surge of strength, he kicked at the rear window. Once, twice, the glass resisted, but his legs, trained for world records, were relentless. On the third kick, it shattered, the jagged edges slicing into his thighs. Blood clouded the water, but Shavarsh didn't stop. He reached inside, feeling for the first person he could find. The first body he pulled out was limp, heavy, lifeless. He couldn't tell if they were alive, but he wouldn't give up. Kicking upward with every ounce of strength, he broke the surface, gasping, and dragged the stranger to shore. Hands reached out from the crowd to take the passenger, and Shavarsh didn't wait to see if they were breathing. He dove again, and again. Each time, the descent was a plunge into hell, murky, suffocating, disorienting. His legs bled freely now, the wound stinging in the filthy water. His muscles screamed, his lungs begged for rest, but the faces inside the trolleybus haunted him. Mothers, workers, children, people with lives, dreams, futures. Over the next 20 minutes, Shavarsh became a machine of will. He didn't think about the cold seeping into his bones or the sewage coating his skin. He didn't think about the glass shards embedded in his flesh or the fact that he could barely see. He thought only of the next life he could save. One by one, he pulled 37 people from the wreckage, his body pushed beyond human limits. Each trip to the surface felt heavier, each dive deeper into exhaustion. Yet he kept going, driven by something fiercer than fear: the refusal to let death win. On the shore, the crowd watched in stunned silence as Shavarsh emerged again and again, his face pale, his body trembling, but his resolve unbroken. 20 of those he saved would survive, their lives owed to a man who refused to stop. 9 others escaped through the window he'd shattered, their freedom a testament to his sacrifice. But every hero pays a price, and Shavarsh's was only beginning. When Shavarsh finally collapsed on the shore, his body was a map of wounds. The lake's toxic water had seeped into his cuts, and his lungs were ravaged from the effort. He barely registered the hands pulling him to safety or the voices praising his courage. The world blurred as he was rushed to a hospital, where doctors fought to save a hero who had saved so many. Pneumonia set in, a brutal consequence of the sewage he'd endured. For 3 agonizing weeks, he lay in a hospital bed, his scarred lungs struggling with every breath. Walking again seemed a distant dream, but Shavarsh Karapetyan was no ordinary man. His spirit, like his body, was forged in the crucible of discipline and determination. Even as his health faltered, his resolve did not. The following year, against all odds, he returned to the water, not to save lives, but to compete one last time. In 2 final competitions, he defied his battered body, clinching a gold medal and shattering his 11th world record. The crowd roared, but Shavarsh knew his time as a champion was over. His lungs, scarred forever, could no longer carry him to victory. He retired, leaving behind a legacy not just of records, but a heroism that transcended sport. Shavarsh Karapetyan's story is not just about a single day in 1976. It's about what it means to be human in the face of unimaginable odds. He could have kept running, left the tragedy to someone else. But he chose to dive into the darkness, into the danger, into the unknown. His scars tell a story of sacrifice, his records a story of triumph. Together, they paint a portrait of a man who redefined courage. Today, the shores of Yerevan Lake are quiet, but the echoes of that day linger. The lives he saved, the families he preserved, the hope he restored, they ripple through time, a testament to one man's unbreakable will. Shavarsh Karapetyan didn't just save 20 lives. He reminded the world that heroism isn't born in the spotlight. It's born in the moment you choose to act, no matter the cost. So, the next time you stand at the edge of your own impossible challenge, ask yourself, what would Shavarsh do? Would you dive in